It is 12:14:23. It is 6:36 p.m. in the evening, and I am reaching out to you tonight because I had an experience earlier this morning, but I was unable to record that experience. And so I'm going to share it with you right now. Now, back in the old days when I first started, I was able to really get up in the morning and just, if I were to have an experience, I'd share it with you guys first and then go to work. But honestly, guys, I just did not have time. And let me get into this experience. I do want to talk with you about something that is important to me. But let me share this experience with you first to get started. So this morning, and for those of you who are interested, I had some music going on in the background. I'd gotten up, I believe, in the morning. I don't remember if I went to the restroom or not. I think I got up. I probably did go to the restroom, and then I came back. I know it was still probably about an hour before I was going to go to work. Maybe, yeah, about an hour, hour and a half. Actually, you know what happened, guys? I actually stayed up really late, and then I went to bed because I took a nap in the evening time. Anyways, I always like to be accurate with these things. I did not actually close my eyes until around 5:30 a.m., maybe almost 6 o'clock in the morning. But between 5:30 a.m. and 6 o'clock, that's when I closed my eyes. So I closed my eyes and I was sitting there. I wasn't there for more than, 15 minutes, maybe max, probably less than that. So one of the pieces of advice I always, as I tell these experiences to you, I always like to also tell you things, I guess you might call them tips, tips that I give to help people that may be struggling. One of the things that I do, and I talk about this in my videos a lot, the vast majority of my experiences happen early in the morning. Now, there's all these methods, wake back to bed and all this other business. I don't know about all that stuff. The only thing I can tell you is that when I get up in the morning and I'm feeling kind of tired, I have the ability to be able to have experiences is more. Okay, so there's a much better chance that something is going to happen. So I was always lying there. I was lying on my right side. Again, I don't know if I already said this or not, but I had some relaxing music in the background, not storm sounds, just a relaxing song in the background on my iPad. And so I'm lying there, and suddenly I feel myself beginning to float upwards. Now, again, and I like to point this out to people who may just be listening to this stuff for the first time. They may be listening to this particular episode. This may be the first episode you're listening to from my channel. The difference for me between, say, shifting or / beyond body and astral projection, the difference is that when I astral project, I feel as if I'm separating from my body. That's what I feel like. Either I'm rolling out or I'm floating upwards. When I shift, I feel as if my entire body is in motion. So it feels like when I say I'm floating upwards, it feels like my entire body is floating upwards. There is no feeling of separation. So I feel myself floating upwards, and I always know when I hit that in-between place. It's hard for me to explain to you. It's hard for me to put into words, but I always know when I get there. And I always know that I only have a certain amount of time. So I need to make a decision about what I want to do. All right. So the first thing I did, and I was thinking about this already, was I told my more expanded self, or some people call it their higher self, but I told my more expanded self, basically, I just said, up to you. Take me somewhere interesting. But I put it in my more expanded self's hands. And that's maybe another tip, is that perhaps, especially those of you who are just beginning, you might want to reach out in your thoughts and say, okay, this it's up to you, more expanded self, or if you want to call it the higher self, you can do that. It's up to you. I'm just going to take a back seat. I'm going along for the ride. You go ahead and be the pilot. And basically, that's what I said to my more expanded self. And what happens is when I say that, it takes over. I can feel it. I can feel myself starting to go in a certain direction and all this stuff. I'm not thinking I want to go to a DR or something like that. I'm not thinking I want to go to a specific destination. I'm letting my more expanded self do its thing. It's in control at that point. So I feel myself sort of floating off, and then at some point I felt myself kind of descend really quickly downward, and then I rolled a couple of times. This is what I'm remembering. And that's what I have in my notes here. I rolled into an apartment. That's what it felt like. So things were dark at first. And sometimes when I enter another reality, and guys, I believe this was a shift, although, again, I'm trying to get away from labeling things, as I've told you before, because I think it's all about frequency. But I definitely had substance in this place. And it took me a few moments to focus. It always does. It takes me a minute to really kind of see what's going on. And so I'm not sure what's going on. It's still dark. And then suddenly I can see. All right. So the darkness lifts. I can see. And the first thing I notice is I am in an apartment. Now, this apartment is different than my apartment, okay? This is nowhere near, this isn't even another version of my apartment. The first thing I saw was a dresser. I don't really have a dresser drawer in my, well, I do have a dresser drawer, but it's white and it's no big deal. This dresser drawer that I saw in this apartment, one of the first things I saw, it had golden handles. It was kind of big, and I noticed that first. And I was like, okay. Now, I did this technique, and I tell people about this on the subreddit sometimes when I'm responding to questions. People say sometimes they forget things when they're out there. And then when they come back, they're like, I don't remember anything. Well, what I do is I will assign a specific word to an area that I'm in, and then that kind of helps me remember. And I think I was kind of thinking to myself, family apartment or something. I don't know. I just assigned 2 words to it, something like family apartment or something along those lines. And that helped me to remember that this was an apartment. It had a bedroom, or it had a bed. Actually, I didn't see a room. I didn't see separation. There was a bed. And honestly, guys, from the bed, I saw a kitchen. The kitchen was literally right there. So it was the dresser, the bed, and the kitchen. I saw a stove. So I started walking around. I started checking things out. This was a small area, a small place. And so I'm starting to walk toward the stove. And suddenly something comes at me. And I can't explain to you what it was. It looked white. And it looked like it was curved a little bit. That's the only thing I can tell you. It was like, oh gosh, it's so hard to explain, guys. Sometimes I see things and it's very difficult for me to put into words what it looked like. But it was something that kind of caught me around my stomach in a way, and it kind of held me, right? And it came really quick. It was sudden. And I was like, okay. And I didn't feel like I could move at first. Now, at this point, I'm certain that there would be people that would panic, and people would be wondering, why aren't you panicking? And I didn't panic because of this. And this is another important thing, guys. I trust my expanded self, and I trust those around me, right? So I've always also talked about the fact that I use my instincts. Now, I was afraid because I thought this was kind of strange, but my instincts told me I was okay, and I already had spoken to my more expanded self. My more expanded self was in charge. So I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm all right. I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to go back. I'm just going to go with this. I felt myself lift kind of into the air with whatever this object was that was holding me. And I was like, what's going on? And there must have been a mirror above the stove or something, because when I got to a certain point, I could see the reflection of someone that I didn't see before. And then I felt myself kind of, I think, descend, and I turned, and this person was there. It looked like a young black boy at first, African American, and he had kind of an afro. But the one thing I noticed about him was the left side of his face was either scarred or burned pretty badly. And I remember looking at him. He wasn't in great shape. His face wasn't in great shape. And he was just kind of right there, right next to me. I don't remember if he was holding on to me first. I think I took him. I took him, and I was going on instinct. Guys. I expressed love for this person. It was as if what I can tell you is I was expressing, like, saying I love you no matter what. Doesn't matter what you look like. That's the kind of thing. Unconditional love. I don't remember specific words, and guys, this could have been telepathic as far as I can tell. That's usually when I don't remember words necessarily, because telepathy comes in different ways, not necessarily in words, it's more feelings. It could be telepathy. So I communicated to this person over and over again, I love you, you're okay, whatever. I don't think I'd ever really seen this person, but I was expressing this love for this person that seemed like they were damaged. And after a while, that whatever was holding me kind of released me more and more and more, and then it let me go. And the being was smiling. And I could tell that whatever I was saying, whether it be telepathy or whatever, had made this being feel better. And that was ultimately everything to me. Now, after this, I think I asked this being what world this was or something like that, but I forgot. I think it wasn't too long before I returned to this reality, and I opened my eyes, and then I wrote down what had happened. But I wanted to also take a moment, and I don't know how many people will be still listening to me, but I wanted to take a moment to talk to you, those of you who are struggling, and those of you who can have experiences. I wanted to encourage you to, especially people who shift but astral project as well, I wanted to encourage you to reach out to your guides, or you can do this in your thoughts, to put yourself in service to others. I know this sounds strange, but this experience really made me think about that, about how in the shifting community, it's all about going to MCU. It's all about going to Marvel Universe. It's all about going to Harry Potter. And in astral projection, it's all about, visiting some other reality and seeing all these beautiful lights and seeing angelic beings and all of these other things. And really, it's all about the experience, the person experiencing things and the beauty that they experience. But I do hear this at times, but I rarely hear about people really saying, I want to go out there and I really want to help people. Now, I have seen some posts of people saying that would be kind of cool to go out and help beings that are out there. Trust me, I will tell you this, and I've experienced this. I just experienced this morning. There are beings out there that are in pain. There are beings out there that are hurting. If you would take a moment, those of you who can have experiences, and maybe for those of you who are struggling to have an experience, this might help you to have an experience. If you could take a moment to think to yourself, how can I be of service to another being that's out there? I want you to think about that for a moment. This is very important. I've been thinking about that. I was thinking about that this morning. This is extremely important, guys, that we do something selfless, that we do something in service of another being, because again, there are beings out there that need us. And maybe if you're just starting out, if you're just really beginning this whole process of either AP or shifting, and you're thinking to yourself, well, I really don't know what I'm doing. If I get out there, in the beginning, of course, you want to learn and you want to build up things. But, I should say this, perhaps when you begin to reach out to your guides, and perhaps when you begin to get into that situation, your guides can help you. And I should actually say that. I know I'm saying even in the beginning, maybe it will help you get out. And I actually would not suggest that you just go out there when you're just starting and, going out there to other beings and trying to help them. I should say that definitely as well. But I would recommend that when and if you reach out to your guides, that you go to them and you say, hey, look, I do want to help them, and they can help you get started. That's what happened with me. They helped me to get started with that. So the best thing to do is to reach out to them in the beginning. And even if you're experienced, it's probably better to go through them because they know what's going on. Anyway, an important message, especially for this time of the year, but in any time of the year. Service to others. I want you to think about it. I think this is why I had this experience. Thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. And until next time, take care.